process he established the landmass.
And in that process, I actually established that landmass there is quite massive. But having said that, I think Azimio is playing populism politics, and as they always do, because the issues that have been raised here, some of them are so impractical. Like number 5, they are demanding that you decongest. You're telling the government that you need to decongest prison from 66,000 to established capacity of 32,000 to save 18 billion annually. I mean, really. You're telling government that now go and decongest. Where do you want to take the prisoners, for example? You want the government to direct courts that today don't take prisoners, don't admit any person or something. It's not really practical.
Is that really reasonable?
But because they simply want to, as I said, the proposals may be good, but they are playing populism with them because they are using a wrong channel to push them. I mean, really, they just want them to be on the media and say, you know, we said this.
Which is the correct channel?
The correct channel is the floor of the House.
But the report will come to Parliament.
The correct channel. But he knows very well. The report, when a report comes, it is either adopted or declined, right? Then what happens? Does it become law? It doesn't become law.
No.
Another process, of course, takes effect.
Yeah.
The other process takes effect, of course, now upon adoption, it now gets to other steps and everything for it to be done. We can hasten this process if you so need by proposing in the floor of the House. But even as we discuss about number 6, reduce road maintenance levy to 5 shillings from 18 shillings per litre. That is good. Then next time, it is Sifuna who will say the road that passes through his, his village, people can't even access their markets.
We have been like that for 30 years, Osoro. What we want?
And stuff
let me tell you. These
things are intertwined.
So even as you look at this movie is done, it will affect.
There are other things that will be affected. I mean, you've been on record here on TV claiming, saying JKI is leaking.
But it's
which is true.
Leaking.
Exactly.
In fact, there's a committee
it needs resources. It needs resources to be redone.
More international.
Well, you see, we need to realize this. Okay. Kenyans need to know this. Number one, our development and our progress as a country is contributory. It is through their taxes. It is through their contributions. Okay. There is nothing. There is no room somewhere that government goes and makes money and then decides this is the channel to move. Okay. When you affect one angle, there is an angle that will be affected. When you affect, like they've well put it, when the fuel is affected, of course, Mwananchi feels the pinch. That is true. But again, when other elements are stopped, like when you reduce such kind of levy from the road maintenance levy, then tomorrow you'll complain about potholes in your road. So there are other things that you need, and you also need to progress with the societal, you're complaining that, we've been living this way for 30 years. You want that mama mboga from your village to take her goods to the market, to access good roads to the market. But you're telling her, don't contribute for the road maintenance, but somehow some miracle will happen and that road will be done. I mean, really, at some point,
you're missing the point.
No.
You're missing the point.
I've missed the point as well.
Practically. And you've seen it. But you choose to be pessimist sometimes. People like Dr. Kuru looks at things differently. They choose to look at the glass as half empty instead of looking at half full. We talked about food security. Are we in that process of making sure that we have food security in this country? Yes, we are. Through what? Through fertilizer, which Sifuna is lying.
It's on hold.
That is number one.
Very tired argument.
How is
this fertilizer thing is an argument also.
How tired is it? Because it is true that
where did the free fertilizer go?
No.
Where did you distribute the free fertilizer?
It is actually your word that it is free fertilizer. But
it was free. It is the word of the Russian government. It's not my word.
It wasn't. But can you even...
Are you in Kenya? Are you not in Kenya?
Not just in Kenya.
But the Russians said the fertilizers were free.
Yeah. So the CS of agriculture was there receiving the free...
What Sifuna is doing, we need to separate the issues. What the fertilizer that came from Russia was a sample. Was a sample then, and it was very minimal. You can't really compare.
I think we should just end the show.
Let me tell you.
Your point was
when there's president, exactly, because we even had of us
there before.
Exactly during the president State of the Nation address. He quoted some farmers from Tanzania and some other parts of the country, really displaying excitement to the yields that they are yet to receive, because they've actually seen that in another 1 or 2 months, their yields will grow.
There'll be a bumper harvest.
Exactly. That is a positive thing towards food security.
Okay.
That story should be given out. When you talk about the housing thing and the element of, making sure that, because you say that we focus on the basics, and we all know that basics are the food, shelter, and the clothing. So if we are working on the two perfectly well, we've also, we are pushing to make sure that we do not allow, the importation of second-hand clothes as much, so that we are able to grow our local textile industry. That is being worked on. Okay. Talk about the other successes. We do not want to import fish.
Okay.
And that was in the Finance Act, even as you complain about the Finance Act that we passed. We've raised taxes on the importation of fish, because it was very ironical that people import fish, yet we've got farmers from, the lake, within the lake regions that farm fish, and they lack markets because some rich person is importing fish from Lake such kind of when after the harvest, we'll get to know. There will be a surplus of maize across. That automatically will reduce the price of unga. It's not really the government that... give me one single government, including the developed countries, where a government comes and says, today or tomorrow, the price of this particular commodity, this unga,
let me just
100 shillings.
It's
not practical.
Okay. Let me finish.
Sifuna should be honest enough and know that these things is a supply and demand.
Okay.
So what we are trying to push is to push that the demand, for the goods becomes a little bit competitive in terms of based on the supply.
Okay.
Because there will be a bumper harvest across the country. Maize will be all over. It will be easily accessible. Now people will reduce their prices, and that was debated. Was tabled yesterday, and in the supplementary one, we have been able to cut some budget from some relevant authorities from different ministries, especially the unjustifiable one, that the hospitality, the office supplies, and everything that has been placed here number 4. That is very true. And even including Parliament. By the way, Parliament's budget has been slashed. So you will not see some quite substantial amount of money. I really can't know the figure.
For the Senate is about 500 million.
For the Senate is about 500 million. I don't know, for the National Assembly, it should be about 1 billion or something. That will affect travel for members of Parliament. It will have this challenge, or rather these proposals. I mean, it's part of the measures that the government is also...
Why do we have ambassadors?
Like you say, there's something you said about, can we engage and have even a moratorium and everything. I know for a fact of a mission that he went to engage on matters roads, because you've noticed that most of these roads have stalled. So, because really our pending bill on roads is at 900 billion, by the way. And, the pending bills, even before we launch other new roads. That includes Sifuna's road. So those are some of the things
that road is not in the budget. C41. I know the road, man.
It's not in the budget.
It's not there. Okay. There's no money.
Fantastic. There is no money. At least he knows now.
There's no money for the road.
Let me say, there's another point that you've raised about the Mavoko. I mean, really.
It's very painful, by the way.
You know very well, Trevor, we are all lawyers here. And my landed senior knows very well. The legal document on land ownership is a title. At least a secondary document before you even get to the primary one. I mean, really, you should be asking the criminals for the arrest of the criminals that sold that land.
The problem is a double stick, Trevor.
I mean, that is it. The team, the litigants that moved to court, it's not actually the East African Portlands that went to court. It is actually the
they were respondents.
They were respondents.
Yes.
Because these other guys went to court on claims of adverse possession. They lost the case. I mean, really, how do you blame government on that?
No, that one we agree.
Call it is a state of the nation. What the president gave was a state of the nation, at the current state, and the record of what is done in the past 1 year. And it took time, of course, he also mentioned about the challenges that we face as a country. The mitigation measures that is put in place to make sure that that is mitigated fully. He talked about the food security. He talked about what is done on the challenges of the food security. There is the subsidy fertilizer that that got its price reduced from 7,000 to 2,500 shillings. And that is a story of success. He talked about the security and what measures is putting in place, you know, matters terrorism and everything. He talked about the success stories of the Hustler Fund and even gave practical examples. In fact, I saw several senators really stamping their feet very fast when they had such success stories, and in particular Honorable Sifuna, and so many other success stories.
Okay.
It's caution from the onset when they took over power, even on the day of swearing in. And the very first step, I think it's first to accept that truly we are not really doing very well. But again, we are not keeping quiet. We are not sitting pretty well, and that things will go in order by themselves.
Yeah.
What we are doing, as we said, and that also came out in the State of the Nation address. Because again, the challenges we are facing as a nation are not unique. Those are challenges that are universal. Some of the things that we are facing are not really, we're not living in a vacuum, we're living within the world, and we travel all over. My colleague seniors here can confirm that world over, things are very tough. What we should actually be discussing here today is, are we really putting measures in place, you know, to mitigate the challenges that are global, that are, you know, that we are all facing?
Yeah.
And
but Trevor,
maybe they've worked through the subsidy and government is paying, you know, and they pay half, and you know, you pay, the consumers pay half. But we can't do that because our debt level as a country is very high. There are things that we can do, like things to do with subsidizing production, but we really can't subsidize fertilizer, and that, fuel, and that is why our prices, you know, really are not reducing, because our debt level as a country right now, and because of also the shrinking dollar in our country so far, is really growing by the day. We are working very hard to pay our debt, external debts. We haven't even started paying our local debts.
Okay.
It's really quite a challenge.
So the spokesperson
our debt
says
stand very high.
2 years. Is that the official?
But that is the truth. You know, we need to be truthful. Dr. Ikuru tells us that be truthful. When we tell you that we need about 2 years to mitigate these challenges, you raise the issue and say, you know, you guys promised us. But we tell you the reality. The country is not doing very well because what happened? In fact, can you imagine that we're still paying about 400 billion of the fuel subsidy that was taken in the last, I think, 2 or 3 financial years, and we really must pay.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
We are paying the Eurobond. Do we stop paying our debts and allow this country go like the other failed countries have gone through?
So
what we are telling people is that we agree there is a challenge. The only short-term mitigation measure that we've set is that, number one, can we focus on how we can be able to have food security? And that is why we pushed on the fertilizer subsidy, so that we can have production. People will have food, you know, the prices will be lower, the prices of food will go lower.
But you see, that's
what people will be.
Party
leader is best. But to the extent that Sifuna says that he said, I mean, somebody raised the issue of popularity, that's a lie.
What was your message?
But it was reported.
It was reported.
Whatever
is reported can't be. You don't take whatever is reported as gospel truth.
No,
because really, you should ask.
But
I was there. I was there. It wasn't true. That issue did not even come forth. We were only discussing.
Cost of living
no, of course it came forth. It was discussed. The cost of living was discussed. We discussed about our plan, like the housing, everything that we are planning as a government.
What was the head of state told about the cost of living?
Yes.
No. I really can't speak out on what. No, there was nothing about popularity.
Khalwale said it on the floor of the Senate.
There was nothing about popularity. I mean, is Halwale our spokesperson?
He's your whip. He's your equivalent.
But I was there.
So you're telling us
popularity.
He was your equivalent.
Why do you want to force me to say that the issue?
So what did he say then?
The issue, of course, the president explained to us his plan.
Yes.
As far as these challenges, I mean, sorting these challenges is concerned. He talked about, we talked about the issues that are coming to the floor of the House even today.
Okay.
You know, we talked about, the main issue was actually the Haiti deployment. By the way,
which Ekuru is in court.
And
this is coming.
And he says it's unconstitutional. Of course, it's coming to the floor today. He claims it's unconstitutional. I do not know how.
I don't claim it is.
He claims that whatever, we need to take responsibility of our actions and everything that we do in the floor of the House, because you're squeezing Kenyans and such like that. Then he says we are lying, maize, all those kind of things. I was with Sifuna in this very show when we started, at the very first quarter of our administration, you remember very well. And that time, we were talking about drought then. I mean, who doesn't live in this country? We had about a long, you know, our agriculture, our irrigation system is it's dependently rain-fed. And we entirely depend on rain for farming and everything. For about 7 months of this year, there were no rains. You remember very well, we were going around, and in fact, that time, with tremendous respect, civil activists like Dr. Ekuro Ekot was moving around telling people that, you know, now these people are praying for rain. I mean, how do you tell us that the president is a praying person? How do you pray for, you know, they complain literally over everything. You do this, they complain. You do this, they complain. They challenge everything.
You know, Trevor,
Yeah.
let me, you know why we must,
just finishing.
You know,
And then
we must complain, Osoro.
Yes.
I'll tell you why we must complain. Because you are the people